Hello and welcome to another Bart and Paul tarot session. We covered a lot of ground over the last 8 months now. Started in February, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's been a while. Where do we keep finding the subjects?
Well, we got plenty of subjects, and of course we have the Graham. We have the Night Riders, the Brighton Night Riders with Graham, and Bart joins in that as well. Graham's a bit busy this evening. So we're going back to Bart and Paul again, just to be flexible on the whole thing. And tonight we're going to talk about an area of the opening of the key spread that I haven't really talked a lot about for a lot of reasons. One is it's difficult to kind of get across and explain. So with the opening of the key spread, there's about 3 or 4 different techniques that you can use. There's the counting technique. There's the elemental dignities, and there's also pairing. There's another way, and there's quite a few other techniques that you can use to analyze tarot cards when we found the cards out into a sequence. Tonight we're going to talk about pairing the cards, and normally the way we do that, we'd fan out the cards, and then we start from the 2 outermost cards and pair them, and then work your way to the center. And there'll either be one pair at the center or there'll be a single card. Now, that's kind of a bit gutty to do. I've done it a few times on things and it hasn't worked that well. So we're going to go back to fundamentals this time. How's your fundamentals, Bart?
Well, we shall see, eh?
So pairing is a totally, we've been doing our 3-card readings, haven't we? We haven't done them for a while, but if you take 3 cards and the 2 outer cards create the 3rd one, and the meaning, the interpretation of those 3 cards you see in the 4th position, which is the princess card. Or was the cat coming in or cat going out?
No, my son is swearing quite loud while gaming.
Oh, verdumped and all that stuff, is it?
Yeah, yes.
Profound. So with a 3-card reading, we're doing opposites. The male and the female generates the son, and the 4th position is the daughter. And so the son is the product of the 2 opposites, and the daughter comes from somewhere else. This is the system of Yod He Vav He, formula of Tetragrammaton, which is very, very powerful.
And effective.
Very effective. This is a totally different technique, and you're going to have to get head around this because it'll do you in for a bit. Normally, when we look at cards, we're looking at differences. Okay, there's different. They look different, each card. The divinatory meanings are different. And people look at the cards and trying to derive this picture or the meaning from the cards. In this technique, which is no one else is going to has talked about this, I'm pretty certain, is we talk about similarity. Now, in the last month or so, we've talked a lot about beyond the abyss. This is the point that goes halfway between Kether and Sephiroth on the High Priestess, mainly one, Priestess path 13, the path of unity. And to go beyond the abyss is a big thing. But we start from the top 3 cards, and which is the Supernal Triangle, basically. We start in the Supernal Triangle, and we end up in Malkuth. We jump all the way from the top to the bottom. Okay, this is another very powerful technique that we're talking about here. And it is basically essentially a triangle, because 3 cards make a triangle, and a triangle gives you a plane surface, a flat surface. If you don't have 3, you can't have a flat surface, okay? And then you have the 4th position, which manifests as matter. And this is the thing beyond the abyss. Now, above the abyss... Sorry, Bart.
With the 4th point, you can make your first solid air.
Yeah, that was the next point. Yeah. Yeah, it is from the 3 you get the 4th, and that is when you go into manifestation into a solid position. So what do you do with 2 cards? Well, you go. Crowley actually writes about this in the mathematics in the book of Thoth, and in particular, he talks about this in the Naples Arrangement, where he says that the so 2 points distinguishable from one another. There's a difference, but it's distinguishable. It means you can tell there's something different. It's not a in your face, totally different thing. You can tell that there's something going on. So this is where we're coming from. He actually starts with the N Sof and N Sof 4, 0 undefined space, and there's the N Sof 4 as its basis, 0 as basis of possible vibration. So he's talking about quantum mechanics there, basically. And then he has the point, positive yet indefinable. And the point, distinguishable, 2 points is distinguishable from one other. So now we have 2 indefinable points.
You know what? I've just been reading that. I found that most interesting in the Practical Kabbalah of Richard Ambeling.
Yeah.
You can represent the Ein Sof, the Ein Sof Or as a being who is infinite, limitless. And then the second one is a being who is infinite and without the ability to put a limit on its infinity.
Right.
And the third one is the infinite with an infinite ability to limit its infinity. If that makes any sense. It made me think a few times. Infinity without limits. Infinity with limits. Infinity with infinite limitation.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, basically, when we're doing 3-card readings, we're reading from the N Sof and N Sof 4. It's a supernal triangle. We start at the top. We don't start at the bottom. We're right at the top. Okay. So he's saying that in 1 point is positive yet indefinable. Okay. So 2 points are 2 points positive and indefinable. They're basically the same. Okay. So when we're reading these paired cards, we're essentially reading them as the same as each other.
As one.
Yeah, as one. This is the dyad, and Crowley writes in other places about the dyad, in particular when he talks about the 2 of Wands, the 2 of Cups, the 2 of Swords, and the 2 of Discs. The twos are where is the pure manifestation of the element. The aces is the seed of the element.
Potentially.
It's spirit. Yeah, it's Akasha and all these things. It's not the element itself. So the Ace of Wands is not wands. The Ace of Cups is not cups. The Ace of Swords is not swords, and the Ace of Discs is not discs. They're kind of Akasha or the infinite, tending towards that quality.
It is what is it? An acorn is not an oak tree.
No, it's an acorn.
No, but it has all the potential of infinite oak trees in it.
These are all seed things. So we are looking at the seeds of those cards when we pair them. So, and to pair, 2 points makes a line. Okay. And we don't know how long or short that line is until we have a 3rd point. And that defines the other 2 points. Then you make a triangle, and in trigonometry, if you know these things, you can generate all the other angles and information you require. We're just looking at a line. Okay. Are you keeping up here, Bart?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you've been doing engineering, so you should know all this stuff.
Oh, Pythagoras, and don't talk to me about triangles.
Sines, cosines, tangents, and all that stuff. We're just doing a line. And of course, what's the Kabbalistic Tree of Life made up of?
Oh, you have no idea how strange that just sounded.
What?
You make us
You have a line. Yeah, no. That just shows your mind and how sick it is. I'm innocent. So yes, not a line of coke. Line. And bloody hell, if you had an infinite line of coke, that would be... Right.
I tried to keep it subtle.
Well, this is what you have to do with these things. You have to extend them, see where you take you. So we had this line, and the Kabbalistic Tree of Life is made up of dots and lines that create triangles. But we're doing a line. So when we join these two cards up, they are indefinite, but different to each other a little bit. Okay. How's that going to work? What it means is that we don't worry about differences between the cards. We're not interested in that. Okay. So, and to make it easier for ourselves, we're going to stick to the major arcana, because doing the other ones, you'll see why in a minute. But it's easier to stick to a pair of major arcana cards. And what we're going to use, have you got them ready, Bart? It's something we prepared earlier. Do you need your glasses for this? Oh, it's...
I took the big ones so I can see them without.
We're doing the Moon card and the High Priestess. Now, the Moon card is not the Moon card.
No, this is a funny thing, that with the Thoth tarot.
Yeah, well, it's the same with the other ones as well. It's not just the Thoth.
Still, you would expect the moon to be the moon.
The Moon card is not the moon. It's we probably have to say lunar to sort of differentiate. But the Moon card is, of course, Pisces. Okay. And Pisces is the sign of the two fish joined up, isn't it? And
yes,
we also have the duality thing with the sign of the Pisces is two brackets back to back with a line across.
Mutable water, right?
Mutable water, yeah. All these things. And the High Priestess is the moon.
Yes.
Yes. Indubitably. It definitely is. So we're taking these two cards and we're making them indefinable points that we can distinguish between the two. Right. So we're talking about geometry, and we talk about a very high level of magic that's going on with these things. So the whole thing about the Moon card is deception and illusion, and the High Priestess is the woman, is the camel, is the woman. She's crossing the desert, and there's two primary feminine cards in the major arcana. One is the Empress, which is motherhood, nurturing, domestication, all that kind of stuff. And she's the wife of the emperor. The High Priestess is an independent woman. I mean, it's funny because when you read the divinatory meanings of the High Priestess, they talk about her wavering and all these things. But these days, I tell her, the High Priestess is a strong woman. She knows where she's going.
And she's supposed to be a virgin. They keep repeating that in the Book of Thoth as well. The High Priestess is the virgin.
Well, there's a technical way of looking at that rather than having sex. It's actually to do with a level of purity and things. It's a bit like a catalyst. Catalyst speeds up chemical reactions, but doesn't itself change, as in a catalytic converter.
this is what, when you read between the lines, this is what you read about the High Priestess. Eh? She's supposed to be a girl in the prime of her life, driving all the men mad, but staying pure herself.
A tease.
A tease, yes. Yes.
But we're not going to get sucked into Bart's mind on this subject, much as we'd like to, because it's the function of the priestess on the Tree of Life that we're looking at. Now, in a sense, these two cards are at polar opposites of the Tree of Life. When we look at the High Priest, look at the Moon card. I'm going to be in such a mess with this one. The High Priest. I'm doing it again. The Moon card. We're doing the Moon card now, right?
I know what.
The Moon card is on the path from Malkuth to Netzach. Technically, it's very low on the Tree of Life.
Oh, it's like that.
Yes, basically, yes. And it's Netzach is about putrefaction. It's the Venus, is the kind of corrosion aspect of things, and it's going to the position of Malkuth. Now, we think of Malkuth in position 10 as solid, but it's not at all. It is completely amorphous. Okay, it's hard to grasp because it's an amalgam of the other four elements. And because Malkuth is in Kether, they're constantly jumping between the two of them. This is the reality. This is the dynamics of the Tree of Life, rather than flattening. Yes, Bart, at the back.
Well, I've already been checking this out in the past, and as they say, yes, they are opposites on the Tree of Life, because Netzach is one of the most unbalanced Sephiroth. Usually, all the sevens are not very good cards. They're a lot of the sevens.
They're not good cards. They're the challenges to overcome.
And Malkuth represents the sexual organs.
Yesod does.
Yesod. And is it between Malkuth? Is the moon going from Malkuth to Netzach or from Yesod?
Hang on, slow down. We're doing the moon card first. Okay.
Yeah. And where is the
between Netzach and Malkuth?
Netzach and
the High Priestess is from Tiphereth to Kether.
Kether, yes.
Okay. So they are kind of polar opposites, but they're not that far apart because 6 and 7 is next door to each other. So what's the path of 6 and 7? I've forgotten. Where are we? 6 and 7, death. Okay. So between these two cards, the moon and the High Priestess. The High Priestess is Tiphereth to Malkuth, to Kether, although it is technically to Malkuth because it's Malkuth in another way. From Netzach to Tiphereth is the path of death and transformation.
So that connects them, actually.
That connects them. So on this line, we have these 2 points with the indistinguishable. So it's technically indistinguishable. They could be together and you wouldn't know they could be that far apart and you still wouldn't see much difference between them. You see, between them is the energy of the death card, which is transformation, and all of these things. In a reading, the moon card often represents deception and confusion. And it's often a sign that your partner is playing away or you're cheating on your partner. There's a lot of confusion going on in relationships and feelings and confused feelings. Fundamental confused feelings in a relationship revolve around money and sex and secrets. The death card. Is that right, Bart?
Yes. Netzach, Malkuth, Thoth, Pisces.
Yes.
Yes.
Am I on the right page?
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to visualize. What is it? A little cheat sheet.
Cheat mat. Yeah, that's good. We need cheat mats. No, I can't remember all this stuff. You need to have references. It's okay. You don't do references in a reading. That's the thing. So these 2 points, we have the High Priestess and we have the moon, and the high priestess is the moon, and the moon is called the moon, is to do with Pisces. And between them, the closest path is between Sephiroth and Netzach, which is the death card, number 50. So there's a lot of transformation, sexual energy, and all these kind of things and stuff. So the high priestess might be keeping herself pure, I'm not sure. Because you can see the Netzach stuff is a bit slutty, and the Sephiroth is sort of the path of balance and harmony.
Well, and
all
also,
of these things.
you don't need to tell you what Crowley is trying to
No,
what
that's
image
right, yeah.
he's hiding in this card, eh?
Hiding, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But we're not going to say that now. This is a
Family show.
Huh?
It's a family show.
It's a family show, yes.
Not that family oriented, but so now, I mean, these two separate cards, we know that they're linked that way, but we can also just see them as opposing cards as well. So we know there's a big transformation going there. We can see that transformation going either direction. We can either see from the Kether down to Sephiroth, through Netzach, through the death card to Netzach and down to Malkuth. But of course, with the high priestess, you can go route one because it's Kether, Sephiroth, Yesod, and Malkuth. Same number of paths. But that's on the balanced tree of energy that's going through. This one is veering off and going on to weird stuff. And there's a lot of water there, of course, as well. And the moon is the lunar thing is very much related to water, isn't it?
Pisces,
and then we have
also.
the Scorpio as a water card, and the moon as Pisces is also water.
And Cancer.
Sorry?
Cancerians.
Cancerians.
Yeah, now you mentioned all the water signs, because you forgot me. Eh?
It all revolves around you, Bart. So now we're sort of seeing how these two cards are interacting and working together, because we're doing pairing, remember. I mean, if you're doing a reading, you wouldn't kind of, unless you're very good at remembering all this stuff. And of course, a lot of the time, you're not doing major to major cards, you're doing quartz and minor cards and all this kind of stuff as well. So it's not a simple kind of thing. But this is suddenly we're in a big power energy thing. Now, there's other ways of looking at these things. The moon is Gimel. Sorry, no, the moon is Thoth, which is the back of the head.
Yes.
And the high priestess is Gimel, which is 103. Let's see what says about 103, if anything. 103. Spider. Yeah. Well, it's got some energies of what's that one? It's a kind of awkward sort of number 103. It comes out some weird energies as well, funnily enough.
Shouldn't have been with energy.
Have you got anything there in 777, Bart? Sephiroth?
In Sephiroth in the end, where is it? 103, let me look. 161. $103. Dust to guard, protect, loathed, food, meat, oblation, prophets, and a calf. 103.
Well, that's a pretty powerful. I mean, the calf is a golden calf, and oblations that revolves around ritual sacrifice and things. And of course, we have the death card in there as well. You see.
Well, I could check Godwin's as well if you want.
Yes, he says, yeah, that'll do for now. So you can look. This is where the technical stuff. This is where you need to know and understand the technical stuff. So.
And question.
You can reverse those numbers, of course, which comes to 301. And I can tell you 301 is ash, meaning fire. Okay. And that translates into actually the Aeon card, because that's Shin, and the Full.
Now when you add number 18, number 2, the Priestess, to number 18, the Moon, you get 20, which is the Aeon card.
No, 30 is the Aeon. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the card numbers here on the front.
Yeah.
This is 2, this is 18. Together they make 20.
20.
20 is the number of the Aeon.
It is also the number of the value of Yod, and it's on path 20 of Virgo, the Hermit card as well. Okay. So now we're kind of getting into a bigger area. We found that there's a sacrifice involved in the energies of this through the oblation with 103. 301 is ash, which is the fire. And that would also be, because 103, you can turn it around to 301. You can do 310 or 13, which is, of course, the number of Gimel and the number of unity in the tarot. And you can reverse 13 to make 31. So you've got a whole load of energies that you can play with. When you go abstract, when you go with the meanings, you'll never get any of this stuff. It's only when you do fundamentals. We're essentially doing the tarot equivalent, I guess, of quadratic equations here now, aren't we? Because we're sort of adding in things. So 103 can be 301, 13, 130, the number of Pan, Samael. Okay. No, it's not Pan. What Pan is 131, so it's very close. And the Book of the Law is 31, and you also have 13 in there. So as an adept, from that line of the Moon and the High Priestess, you suddenly have an enormous amount of energies, which we're sort of just expanding out into other areas that are all linked in. And this is how Crowley works. McGregor Mathers and other ones as well, Alan Bennett. This is how they did their magical stuff. Because in Gematria, similar words, different words with the same number value are connected. You can also, because 13, 130, 31, 13, 103, 301, they're all ones and threes, and they all, of course, come to 4, which is kind of interesting. Well, I hadn't really thought this through when I started thinking. I was saying to Bart, this is what I'm going to do tonight, and we're just going to take these cards, and I hadn't thought through where we get to at this point. So we're back to the 13, 1 and 3. The 3 there, bring into the 1. So we're still back into this thing of the energies and things.
But it is peculiar, though. 4, for me, when I hear 4, I hear the Emperor. Now, these are 2 very feminine cards, eh?
What's that?
13, 1 and 3.
Yes.
13, 1 and 3 is 4.
Yes.
And 4 is the Emperor.
It's also Hazard in Jupiter as well. So it's the first point below the Supernal Triangle. And of course, that the Fall is in the Supernal Triangle, from Kether to Chokmah. So even though they're just kind of not related otherwise, suddenly they are. This is all just comes from just pairing up 2 cards. Okay. So this is a sort of a simple overview of how pairing works using just 2 cards. Let's see. So, I mean, you could see this as, if you have the High Priestess next to the Moon card, you could run through all of these things, and you need to know a bit about the Kabbalistic and astrological attributes and numerological attributes to do this. And they're not that hard to learn. Yes, Bart?
Well, so the way you are explaining it, I can imagine people watching this starting to shuffle their deck. Let's take 2 cards and pair them.
Yeah.
Now, how does pairing 2 cards compare to doing 3-card readings?
Well, we've done many 3-card readings, haven't we?
Yeah, but I mean on the practical side now, eh? I mean, I always consider 3-card meanings the ideal way to get an answer to a question.
They are. But there is this Golden Dawn technique of pairing. Okay. And, they basically, they say, pair the out cards to the middle and make a story. There isn't a lot on it. And, when it's one of the hardest parts I had when I was writing The Tower of the Magus and Beyond the Celtic Cross to talk about pairing. But it's because it is, because it's above the abyss. This is not a below the abyss technique. And if you, all these other tarot courses, they're all below the abyss. They don't even know you can get across the abyss. They think you can't. And we zip across like yo-yos.
But we are, when I find the way we discuss the tarot is we discuss the tarot also as a means of initiation.
Yes.
While usually people only see it as a game to foretell the future.
Yeah, well, they can stick to their fortune telling. We can have some fun and do some real stuff with it. I mean, most of Crowley's writings has at least one reference to tarot somewhere, and very often far more than that. Tarot is fundamental. And, if you want to play with the big boys, you've got to know their techniques and they extrapolated these techniques. We're not doing anything I haven't done. They just didn't say they did these things. But when you know the fundamentals and when you work with the energies and you work with the fundamentals, because we're not bothered about meanings here, are we? They're not important. They never are. Because it's like, 1 + 2 + 3 = 6. And, you add, subtract, you can multiply and divide. But if you know, you can do all the possible permutations. But if you know algebra, A + B + C or whatever, you have the formula for all possible operations that you can do with that. And that's what we're doing here. I mean, Crowley says in, I think it's the Magus, Liber B, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. I mean, these are the basic mathematical things that we all learn as a child in infant school. You can take away, you can add, you can multiply, and you can divide. And that's essentially what we're doing here. Because
that's Solve and Coagula, no?
Yes, Solve and Coagula. We're back to that again. You see. So it's easier to do this with, now I think you can see why it's easier to do this with major cards rather than court cards. You can do it, court cards, they don't have number values.
And they are tricky as well. Court cards, I find there's even more layers to their meaning.
Yeah, there's many layers, far more than people realize. And all or none of them, and some of them are valid in any situation. It's but it's. I mean, are one people? Why do we try to make people one-dimensional with court cards? I don't know why. It's insulting.
It's confusing sometimes. And on the court cards, I try not to read too much and just stick to what because if you're gonna try to keep the Golden Dawn and Crowley and then other people in mind, you got so many different meanings to these court cards. In the end, you just have to trust your guts, I find, and just take what you think.
I just look at the cards either side of the court card, and maybe what's the fourth one if it's a Knight, Queen, Prince, or the seventh card if it's a Princess. But it's looking at the cards that are around the court card. But you're essentially using intuition and insights and things to short circuit that process that I've just described of a line. Yes, sir. So the thing is, a line is direct. It's, you know, it's, you know, with a plane, the space, it's all, you know, it's not a, it's more amorphous, you see.
Well, since we're talking about the moon meaning Pisces, but when it comes to court cards, then I would straight away think of the Queen of Cups.
Yeah.
Somehow they feel connected. Or yeah, and there is also.
Well, the thing is with the queens, this is where you need the technical knowledge, because the queens, of course, are all in Bina, which is the opposite side to Netzach, at the top of the tree in the Supernal Triangle, number 3. There's another interesting thing about, because the moon, see, the moon is actually also Yesod, number 9.
Yes.
Which we haven't talked about.
I mentioned it, but I was wrong. I remember there was a connection to Yesod, and I thought remembering the moon went from Netzach to Yesod. But then you said no, it's going to Malkuth. I was a bit confused. So what's the connection with Yesod again? But because Ali, the moon also shows the dirty side, the nasty side, the evil side.
Well, that's the moon card.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the connection to Yesod.
Yes, yes. Well, it's not connected to Yesod. It's connected to Netzach and Malkuth. Okay.
But the moon being Ali, the Yesod being the Sephiroth attributed to the planet, the moon, to the Ali.
See, this is where you flip things around, because if you go from the position of the moon, you talked about the queens just there. There's the queens are in Bina, the 3rd Sephiroth, which is related to Saturn, which is why it's dark, basically. And the 9 is Yesod, and they're connected because 3 times 3 is 9. And there's an interesting thing, because as Saturn, it's the slowest planet, and the moon in the planetary hour system is the fastest planet, because the planets in the Sephiroth order from 3 to 9 is the Chaldean order of the planets from the slowest to the fastest, as seen from Earth. Moon is a planet in the way we think here.
Yeah, I know.
Even though the moon is a moon, we're getting back into the moon is the moon thing again. So there is a powerful connection anyway between Yesod and Bina. So if you introduce the queens into it, then we'd probably talk about Yesod and Bina as the way through, which is kind of parallel to what we're talking about anyway.
And in between 3, 6, 9, 6 in between is Tiferet, which is the starting place of the priestess.
Yeah. 1 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9 is 26, I think, isn't it, as well?
I don't know. 1 plus
3. 1 plus 6,
7,
9, and 10.
16. It's 26, yes.
26, yeah. Which is Yod He Vahi, tetragrammaton.
13 times 2.
13 times 2, so we're back to double unity again. So in that sense, 2 points are creating kind of a double unity, if you like, which is 26.
The thing is, what was it? I read somewhere. It was Crowley, I think, who said it. Right? Normally, everything has to be full of contradictions. If it makes sense to you, you're not getting it.
Yeah. But you have to unite those contradictions, which is above the abyss method, where everything is in unity.
We are not authorized.
Everything is fragmented.
We are not authorized that high.
Yes, we are. We're not respecter of status here. So Crowley does this thing where he's basically going around doing these kind of things with these numbers and stuff. I mean, you said the High Priestess is number 2, yeah, and the moon card is 18. Yes? Yeah. So 2 plus 18 is 20. You can see that as the 20th path, which is...
Let me see. Yod, the Hermit. No. Yeah, Yod.
20 is Yod. Yeah.
Yod.
So 20...
And it's from Keset to Tiferet.
Different, yeah. So the Yod is an interesting one because the number of Yod is 10, but the number which is Yod is 10. Okay, Yod Vav Dalet, which is, if you break up the letter Yod, it's Yod Vav Dalet, which adds up to 20, and it's on the path of 20. So we're kind of this is a secret kind of path. So the interesting thing is Yod is the secret fire, which is how it's described in the Hermit card, you see. And it goes to 20. Where am I going with this? Forgotten.
You're on about all the 10s and the 20, you know, the Hermit is 10.
The 10s and 20s. So Yod is the top, is the fire position in terms of Yod Ha Vav He. But as a and it's a dot on the Yod, actually, is the important thing. Not, and all Hebrew letters are made up of Yods, basically. So Yod is a fire thing because it's actually Atzilut. Okay, it's up there in Atzilut. But in tarot, when we talk about Yod, we're usually talking about it as the Hermit, Virgo, the Virgin. So there's this feminine energy with a hidden fire, which shows that the feminine energy is at the top, along with the High Priestess as well. So these things, this is all about the sameness.
It's Mercury
the same
as well.
But different.
Yeah. Mercury, when you say Yod and Virgo, immediately Mercury pops to mind.
Yeah, well, Mercury is the only sign. Virgo is the only planet where Mercury is the ruler and it's exalted. It's the only sign where the planet is exalted and a ruler. So this is the Caduceus, which is another system of healing and joining up all the energies as well. That goes through the center.
And
the serpents around the staff, yes.
And in astrology, that would normally, they say Virgos you find a lot of clever Virgos. See, hopla.
But I mean, also, the same as some things. High Priestess is the Virgin, and the Virgo is the Virgin as well. You see. Another thing you can do. What was the other thing you could do? Well, 100, of course, is 10 times 10. So this is the if you read Crowley's writings on this. He talks about the 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 is very much the area of confusion and chaos anyway. It's a double Malkuth, you see. It takes us into interesting places, which we're not going to bother with at the moment. So I hope, has that all made sense, Bart?
Oh, yes. I loved it.
Yeah?
It was a thorough elaboration.
Thank you. So when we're pairing cards like this, we these 2 points, these 2 cards, they're vaguely there and they're similar, and we can just about see them. Because we can just about see them, we use other ways of analysing and interpreting those cards. Technically, one way is we did it on the Tree of Life. We did it with the number values of Gimel and Kof. We also did it with the path numbers as well. And we can take those numbers and permeate them. So 103 becomes 130, is 310. We didn't do that one. It's also 31. It's also 13. It's 103. It's 301. You see, there's usually 6 or 9, I think, permutations. of those three numbers. So if you're doing a ritual based upon the energies of those things, you suddenly, and we also know that because if we connect them up on the Tree of Life, they would go through the position from Tipreth to Netzach, which is the death card. So we're talking about sacrifice. You could see that as sex magic if you wanted to as well, but certainly transformation, and it's sacrifice as well, which is the traditional meaning of that kind of energy as well at that point, which is 103, by the way. So, and 301 is fire. So just by these 2 points that don't exist and are very similar, but just about different, suddenly we've expanded it out into a huge area of knowledge and information that can be explored. And you can continue exploring this. There isn't a right or wrong thing with this, really. It's just seeing where it takes you. It's very powerful. I think our work is done for the evening, Bart.
Yes. You know, in my dream world, where I have an endless amount of time, I don't know, I have these little booklets. In my dream world, I would have 22 of these booklets. I'd have one scripture, you know, they're empty. I would have one for each major arcana card. And I think you could fill up, at least you could fill this up, one of these up in about every major arcana card, every time you learn something new about it.
Yeah. It's a good thing to do. There's 20 times 21 permutations of 2 cards. There's an awful lot.
Yes, and that is the card on itself, because when you start to pair them or connect them with others, they evolve and they get new meanings, I find.
Which you'll find you'll use in your readings in some way or another. It's the, you know, they talk about the connections in the brain, don't they? The more connections you have between the energies and things, the better. And that's essentially what we're doing here. So we touched upon the meanings and we touched upon the things, but you can just, you know, you need to get Liber 777, the Sephiroth. And this is technical stuff, but I mean, it's not that hard to learn. But when you do, you'll find you really expand your expertise when it comes to tarot readings. So please like and subscribe. We have our Thoth Tarot groups, don't we?
Yes,
Thoth Tarot and the Thoth Tarot group.
The Book of Thoth Tarot Study Group.
Thoth, yeah, a bit pretentious, I know, but what the hell. We got outed last week because we have plans to do a workshop in October or November. We're not sure exactly. Probably in Brighton, and we're hoping Bart can float across the channel and avoid the COVID to be there. And we have a few other people we have in mind as well. So hopefully that'll be good fun to do. And so if you have an interest, let me know. It's easier probably via the Thoth Tarot groups. And we'll have another subject next week, won't we, Bart?
Yes, eh? Now, let me choose something really original that we haven't done before. Oh, I know. Abracadabra.
Okay. We'll try and do abracadabra.
You can do it with the H. I'm not difficult on that. I'm not fussy.
No. We'll get there. We'll get there. Have a great day, everybody. And we hope to see you on our Facebook groups and anywhere else as well. And happy pairing.
Yes.